If I could say a few things, one is it's definitely an interesting time to be writing and releasing a book about how the Supreme Court is bad, in part for the reasons you give. Part of what I hope the book does is it provides a necessary corrective to people's inclination to snap back to a world where they view the Supreme Court as good and as our savior. I expect the Supreme Court will occasionally rule against the Trump administration, but I don't think that means 3 years from now, 4 years from now, we should all be celebrating the great heroics of the Republican appointees on the Supreme Court. I think people need a longer term picture and a longer term assessment of the Supreme Court in order to really make decisions about what they want the role of that institution to be. The second is, I don't think we can overlook the ways in which this court and Republican controlled courts have laid the groundwork for Donald Trump. So, in many respects, they own everything that the president and Congress are doing right now, even if they occasionally rule against them and tinker at the margins. This court, after all, didn't allow states to disqualify Donald Trump from the ballot because of his role in January 6th and the Stop the Steal movement. They effectively said a portion of the 14th Amendment just couldn't be enforced against the president. They also cleared the way for his candidacy by slow walking the appeal in his immunity claims, ensuring he wouldn't face a trial on the election interference charges before the presidential election, and then granting him absolute immunity or at least presumptive immunity for anything he did as president. They also interfered with Joe Biden's ability to govern. They blew up one of his most significant policy achievements, the plan to cancel student debt. And if you look at some of the interviews with voters in the last election, many of them faulted Joe Biden and the Democrats for not doing student debt relief. But it was the Republican Supreme Court that effectively, again, impeded Democrats' ability to govern and deliver on the promises that they had made. So I don't think we can overlook the ways in which the court laid the groundwork for Trump and Trumpism in many different respects. And those are just a few examples. Third and finally, I would say, I don't think we should just shut down the Supreme Court entirely. I think any reforms about the Supreme Court have to be sensitive to the situation we are in. And I think they should be targeted. That's why I don't think we should have laws that say the Supreme Court can't strike down any federal law. I would want more targeted reforms that say, as to this Voting Rights Act or as to this Restore Roe Act, we are going to limit the Supreme Court's authority to strike them down. But I don't think we should have a system where, the Supreme Court cannot be assessing administrative regulations or other matters.